are many who see the big lie. Do you see it yet? Do you see it? Lie after lie. Oh my gosh, there's so many, and they're so big. And guess what? We see that. We do see it. And guess what, legacy media, mainstream media? Your days are numbered. You know why? Because you lied, and you can't get that trust back. And guess what? You won't be trusted anymore. All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It is the 20th of May, 2025, and these are the WTF reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, and I thank you, and I humbly and respectfully request that you visit our website, the WTFReports.com. All of our archives are there. You can listen to any broadcast going back several months, and you can also visit our sponsors page, and I ask that you do so. And this broadcast is being brought to you in part by the Wave Watch. If you haven't checked it out, you don't know what you're missing. You all know who Nikolai Tesla was. He told us that frequency is everything. And you know, somebody who understood that was Royal Raymond Rife. Check out Rife machines. Do a little research. And once you understand the technology there, you will truly appreciate the technology in the Wave Watch. And yes, it's a Rife machine you wear on your wrist. And it's an amazing piece of technology. So check it out, the Wave Watch at TheWTFReports.com. All right. Where do I start today? It's going to be a shotgun blast. I'm going to be all over the map with different topics today because there's so much going on. And, of course, the big news is that, yes, former President Biden has cancer, advanced cancer. And everybody's saying, oh, well, the Democrats are saying, now you should drop all investigations into the Biden family. No, you got to stop this inquiry. You got to stop all this stuff. Just stop it. That's what the Democrats are saying. Why do you suppose they're saying that? Well, I don't know. It's not hard to figure out because the Democrats have been benefiting from the corruption of the Biden regime and all the billions and billions of dollars that were being siphoned out of the American people's pockets through taxes and going into NGOs, which were benefiting all the Democrats. Yeah, and they don't want that to stop. They want to keep sticking their hand in the cookie jar. Yeah, they reach up and they want more money. They don't want it to stop. So put your hand in the cookie jar. No. Oh, they don't like that. No. You're going to reach for the cookie. Yeah, reach for the cookie jar again. No. No, they don't like that at all. But again, you know, that's just the way they are. Now, again, this is going to be somewhat of a shotgun blast because now, of course, everybody's been talking about the auto pen. Who was running the White House? If Biden had cognitive problems, which we obviously know he did through his entire presidency, and you know, year after year, the president gets his physical. And the doctors never said anything about cancer. No, they didn't. In other words, they were zipping their lips. They were keeping their mouths shut because somebody else was pulling the strings in the White House. Who could it be? Democrats are saying, stop looking. Don't look. Don't you do any more investigation. Leave him alone. He's got cancer. He's going to die. So just put it all down. Leave it alone. No, that's not how justice works. I'm sorry that he's sick. I'm sorry that he has cancer. But the bottom line here is the level of corruption defies most people's imagination. We're only figuring out, how much has been going out the door. But anyway, bottom line here is that this is typical. This is absolutely typical. And I'm going to use a little bit of an analogy, okay? Because we're dealing with some really evil people on this planet. And, I used to talk about, when we were kids, we loved to have our superheroes, and the superheroes had supervillains. Superman had Lex Luthor, And Batman, he had a whole bunch of them. He had the Joker and the Riddler and the Penguin, and then there was Spider-Man, and he had Doc Ock and the Goblin and the Sandman. And that was all make-pretend because there are no supervillains in this world, are there? Well, yes, there are. They're really, really evil supervillains. And there's not just a couple of them. There's an entire legion of them. And they hide behind the auspices of the UN and the World Economic Forum and the EU and the IMF and all these three-letter agencies. Well, I'm telling you here that those evil monsters, those supervillains are real. And it all traces back to just a few families. And when you think of the major movers and shakers and policymakers in this world, and you think about the blue bloods and the royalty and, these families that have been running things, what's the one family that comes to mind? Come on, you could do it. You know it. Yeah, the Rothschilds. Yeah. Well, let me put together another little analogy here. Let's say that you have a poodle, and this poodle is high-strung, neurotic, and hyper, and so you're going to have that poodle of yours is going to have babies with another poodle who happens to be high-strung, neurotic, and the same type of characteristics. Well, common sense will tell you that when those two get together and have puppies, you're going to have super neurotic, high-strung, yippy little doggies, right? Okay, well, that makes sense. It's sort of like they're genetically predisposed for those conditions. And the same thing could be said about people who might be obese. So if you have one obese woman, she marries an obese guy, and they have kids, they're going to have little obese kids. If they're genetically predisposed for that, that's common sense. All right? So let's say that you've got a blue blood, okay? Very, very royalty-rich blue blood. And, of course, they want to make sure that, and we're talking about the type of people who have no empathy, no compassion. They are very malevolent in their attitude. And let's say they're even a little sadistic. All right? So if you've got one family that has all those traits, and they marry into another family with a lot of those traits, common sense is going to tell you that they're going to have kids that are going to be just as malevolent, just as devious, just as evil. That sort of makes sense, doesn't it? Well, this is sort of what we're up against. And I've played this clip in the past, and I will play it again. This is Jacob Rothschild explaining about how the Rothschild family works. You're going to have to listen carefully. This was recorded in a big room. There's a lot of background noise. But this is Jacob Rothschild explaining how the Rothschild family works. Listen up.
Baron James, who was head of the Paris branch and the youngest of the 5 sons of Marshal Rothschild, gave an astonishingly uninhibited description of the 19th century Rothschild policy of keeping it in the family. I'll quote to you from what he wrote.
Listen to this.
Well, in our family, we've always tried to keep love in the family. In this sense, it was more or less understood since childhood that children would never think of marrying outside the family, so that our fortune would never leave it. You couldn't write that today.
No, you couldn't, yeah. So they have an unwritten policy to never marry outside of the family. Now, I saw a documentary film several months ago about the history of the Rothschilds family, and yes, they do intermarry. Yes, they do. They want to keep the family fortune, exactly like we said. They want to keep the family fortune in the family, so they don't marry outside of the family. So if they've got those traits that we were talking about, if they're malevolent and they're greedy and they're manipulative and they're sadistic and all these negative, personality traits, it seems to me that those traits will become more and more refined. I mean, I could be wrong. I could be. I'm just thinking. I'd like to know what you think. As a matter of fact, I got some other stuff I'm going to get to, but I'm going to open up the phone lines right in the beginning here. 215-867-8255. If you've got thoughts on the matter, I'd like to hear from you. 215-867-8255. Okay, now these individuals, these movers and shakers and policymakers, they do have a plan for all of us, and it ain't good, folks. And as a matter of fact, let me see. We've been talking the number one policy that they have in mind. The number one goal is depopulation. That's what they want. They want to reduce the population of this planet drastically. And they're going to do it by any and all means necessary. I have an audio clip here that I'd like to play for you. That's what I do here. I bring you the audio receipts so you can't say, oh, Dave said that. Dave said the Rothschilds intermarry. Yeah, they're incestuous relationships. That's what Dave said. No, that's what Jacob Rothschild just said. So don't come after me with this stuff. Anyway, I'm here with the audio receipts. Now I forget where this one came from. Let me see if I can identify this. I grab all these audio clips and throw them into my files, and then I lose track of who said what. But let's see what this one. This is all about population reduction. Here it is.
I'll say this. See, this is the beauty when we deal with actual facts. I'll go straight to the United States government policy. You have what's called the National Security Study Memorandum 200, also known as NSSN 200, which was authorized, written under Dr. Henry Kissinger, who was the 32nd Secretary of State under President Richard Nixon and Gerald Ford. Pardon me, documentation. Now, this is all we go straight to what the U.S. government has stated. He stated, quote, depopulation should be the highest priority of U.S. foreign policy towards the third world, end quote. They literally stated in this documentation that we need to get rid of 2 to 3 billion people on planet Earth. Outside of that, you have something called Global 2000, which was also authorized under Jimmy Carter, outlining how food can be used as a weapon. Outside of that, you had someone by the name of Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was a former advisor to President Jimmy Carter, who stated, quote, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people than to physically kill 1 million people. He said, but now it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than it is to control, end quote. So what you're dealing with is the food, the air, the water, reproductive services, Planned Parenthood, and all these different arenas are being used to go towards an effort of getting rid of human beings, black, white, and all in between, by the billions, by a government-sponsored, pharmaceutically sponsored conspiracy. Now, a conspiracy is when 2 or more groups, people, or organizations come together to do something that is evil and or wicked. Conspiracy is a real thing. Conspiracy theory is when you're not sure of what is happening. That's a theory. We're dealing with conspiracy fact, conspiracy documentation, conspiracy organized calculated schemes that are being conducted by people on high. And guess what? Again, they coming after black and white folks, and all in between. Black folks are number one. Don't ever get it twisted. We are the number one target. But at this point, they are looking at the reality that people are waking up too fast. They didn't expect us to wake up too fast, hence social media being a problem, a gift and a curse. You see what I'm saying? So now that we're waking up so quickly, they didn't expect the masses of humanity to rise up, wake up, become aware of what this government's agenda is. And because of that, now they're trying to figure out exactly how to get rid of people. They said these white folks is waking up. They're coming against us. Their government. Black folks is waking up. They're coming against us. So now at this point, they're like, well, just get rid of them all.
Yeah, that seems to be the plan. That seems to be the plan. And the guy mentioned, conspiracy theories years ago, many years ago, back at, 2004, 21 years ago, I released a documentary film, 9/11 in Plain Sight. Now, in the beginning of that, he was just mentioning conspiracy theories. I gave my own little definition of conspiracy theory, and here it is. Those 2 words, conspiracy theory. Now, there's those 2 words. The first word, as he was mentioning, when you have 2 or more people planning something in secret, that's a conspiracy. Now, the other word is theory. By definition, a theory is a supposition, a concept. Okay, for example, in theory, if you purchase a raffle ticket, you can win a prize. Now, as long as you don't purchase a raffle ticket, then the win is theoretical. But once you purchase a raffle ticket, it becomes a possibility. And the more raffle tickets you purchase, the more possible and eventually probable the win becomes. That's the way it works with raffle tickets. Well, the same thing is true about conspiracy theories. If you have an idea of a conspiracy, but you have no evidence, then your concept is a theory, a conspiracy theory. But once you have a piece of evidence, no matter how circumstantial or flimsy that it may be, you move into the realm of possibility. And the more evidence that is gathered, the more possible and eventually probable that conspiracy theory becomes. Now, unfortunately, we have mainstream media, and I've been screaming about them for 3 decades. That's where that song, my intro song, You Won't Be Trusted Anymore. You can hear the whole song. Go to YouTube, type in my name, and the title of the song is You Won't Be Trusted. And I dedicated that to the mainstream media 30 years ago. I have no love for the for the mainstream media. I've watched them lie and lie and lie for all this time. And this is one of the reasons why we're in the pickle that we are, is because too many people just listen to the CBS, NBC, ABC, blah, 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 the legacy networks, plural, and they take it as gospel. And this is why we're so screwed up in this country, because we have been sold a bill of goods. Anyway, I wanted to throw that out there because I'm telling you here, folks, it doesn't make any difference what I believe. It doesn't make any difference what you believe. What matters is what they believe. And what they believe, it has nothing to do with reality as far as, humanity is concerned. And again, their number one agenda is to reduce the population drastically. And after they've got to destroy this country first. And they're doing a doggone good job of it. Yeah, there was a movie in 1998, and I forget the name of this movie. I got the clip here. But this has to do with unchecked immigration coming into this country. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, a 1998 movie. I wish I knew. Anybody know what movie this came from? Please give me a call. I want to hear from you. 215-867-8255. Where did this movie come from? Here's the clip.
All right, listen up. We need to open our eyes. There's over 2 million illegal immigrants bedding down in this state tonight. This state spent $3 billion last year on services for those people who had no right to be here in the first place. $3 billion. $400 million just to lock up a bunch of illegal immigrant criminals who only got into this country because the fucking INS decided it's not worth the effort to screen for convicted felons. Who gives a shit? Our government doesn't give a shit. Our border policy is a joke. So is anybody surprised that south of the border they're laughing at us? Laughing at our laws? Yeah. Every night, thousands of these parasites stream across the border like some fucking pinata exploded. Don't laugh! There's nothing funny going on here. This is about your life and mine. It's about decent, hard-working Americans falling through the cracks and getting the shaft because their government cares more about the constitutional rights of a bunch of people who aren't even citizens of this country. On the Statue of Liberty, it says, give me you're tired, you're hungry, you're poor. Well, it's Americans who are tired and hungry and poor. And I say until you take care of that, close the fucking book. Because we're losing. We're losing our right to pursue our destiny. We're losing our freedom so that a bunch of fucking foreigners can come in here and exploit our country. And this isn't something that's going on far away. This isn't something that's happening places we can't do anything about it. It's happening right here, right in our neighborhood, right in that building behind you. Archie Miller ran that grocery store since we were kids here. Dave worked there, Mike worked there. He went under, and now some fucking Korean owns it who fired these guys and is making a killing because he hired 40 fucking border jumpers. I see this shit going on, and I don't see anybody doing anything about it, and it fucking pisses me off.
And I could understand why. And again, that's from 1998. We're talking 27 years ago, and we're dealing with the same stuff. The same stuff. Why? Because Americans, unfortunately, have the attention span of a potato, and they've become accustomed to sitting on their big, fat, pimple-covered butts and not doing anything. Everybody in this country loves to complain about anything, but they don't want to roll up their sleeves, get involved, and do something about it. And I'm just so frustrated. You know, we got plenty of people that call themselves red-blooded, God-fearing, mom, dad, and apple pie patriotic Americans. And yet they have backed away from the table. If this is supposed to be a government of, by, and for the people, what type of government do you end up with when the people just abdicate their throne? And they've come to accept the fact that, you know, the public servants are living in the mansions, and we, the people who are supposed to be the governors, are living in the servants' quarters. If you're lucky enough to have servants' quarters. It's everything is upside down. You know, you just heard this guy talking about all of these illegal immigrants. Well, I got a WTF for you. This one has got to be the WTF of the month, if not the year. And guess who said it? Jasmine Crockett. Listen to what she had to say. And if this doesn't curl your nose hairs, I don't know what will. Listen to what she had to say. I might have to play this twice. Listen up.
As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights. And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country?
What?
Like that is absolutely insane. So yes.
Yeah, it is insane. Of course, now she's talking about the idea that we deported, you know, these Tren de Agua guys to El Salvador. They're grabbing up all these gang members who came in illegally, and as a result, they do not have constitutional rights. They are not citizens. They avoided any type of documentation. They are illegal. Illegal. Jasmine, do you understand that? Obviously, she doesn't, because she kicks it off by saying it's denying their constitutional rights. They don't have any. Listen again. Come on, listen again. Where is it? Come on, do it again. Here we go.
As far as I'm concerned, you randomly kidnapping folk and you throwing them out of the country against their civil rights, against their constitutional rights.
Oh, there it is. Their civil rights and constitutional. They don't have any, Jasmine. You should know better.
And frankly, how would they feel if some other country decided that they were going to just start throwing people randomly in our country? Like that is absolutely insane. So yes.
That's exactly what's happening, Jasmine. And again, that's got to be the WTF of the week, if not the whole entire year. But unfortunately, a lot of people don't get it because they don't have a brain. You got to try that sometime. Use a brain. Here's a good spot for you.
I used to believe everything I'd see on the news, but that's before I discovered a brain.
A brain is meant for everyday use. Those living with moderate to severe stupidity have seen immediate improvement in common sense with a brain.
I thought the government had my best interests at heart. And then a friend told me about a brain.
Talk to your doctor about what news sources you obey. A brain may also lower your desire to take life-altering advice from celebrities.
Getting lectured about my carbon footprint from people with 3 private jets used to make sense. But thanks to a brain, now I can think for myself every day. When my disregard for 3rd grade biology began to flare up, I knew it was time for a brain.
Do not try a brain if you're allergic to a brain. Common side effects may include accountability, discernment, homeschooling your kids, a better understanding of economics, awareness of the stupidity of socialism, and diarrhea.
For tethering yourself to reality, the only no-brainer is choosing a brain. Ask your doctor if a brain is right for you.
For more information, visit tryabrain.com.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary. And you can get more tank by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. You'll find a link to the Get More Tank website, and you can read all the technical data about how this technology was developed and how it works. And once you understand it, I think you'll understand why you too need to get more tank. So go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, click on the advertisers page, check it out, and I promise you'll find improved performance in your vehicle. And after using Get More Tank for about 4 or 5 tanks, you will, not even that, you'll probably notice an increase in your mileage after the second or third tank, anywhere between 15 and 20%. So that means this pays for itself in your first purchase. Not only that, but you come out ahead of the game. You know, how much is a tank of gas to fill your vehicle? Well, you make one purchase for $20, and whatever that, you got 5 tablets. After the 5th tablet, it works out that tank will be free. So you do the math. It's a no lose situation. Win-win across the board. Get more tank. Anyway, that said, let's see. Again, the phone number here, blah, blah, blah. If you want to join me, I encourage you to do so. Belly up to the telephone bar. Want to hear from you. 215-867-8255. Again, that's 215-867-8255. Okay, yesterday, in yesterday's program, I was covering a particular issue. It has to do with a presentation that I saw, it was about 20 years ago. And this was, kind of scary because what this is, this presentation, it was, and I mentioned this on the show yesterday, and it was towards the end of the program, so I couldn't get too much into it. But the bottom line here is that back in 2005, there was a presentation. It had to do with how do we deal with the Islamic extremists. How do we deal with these people, these religious fanatics? Well, one of the things that they wanted to do is figure out how to shut down the part of the brain that basically seeks spiritual enlightenment. In other words, if you pray or if you meditate or anything like that to connect with your spiritual self, there's a part of the brain that gets activated. So what they wanted to do is figure out how to shut down that part of the brain. Now think about what that means. That's some scary stuff right there. Because if they cut off your desire or your ability to connect with the spiritual side, basically they are stealing your soul. And I have to tell you, folks, that's some scary stuff. And I have the document here. Let me see. I can't seem to locate. What did I do with it here? I had it ready for yesterday's show, and I was going to read some of it, but I didn't get to it. But no, they call it the FUNVAX. And the FUNVAX, oh my gosh, like I said, and they can aerosolize this. This is not just a vaccine. This is something that, that they can spray, and once you inhale it, it shuts down that part of the brain. Let me see if I can't find this. It's FUNVAX. Let me see here. FUNVAX, FUNVAX, FUNVAX. Okay, yeah, here it is. All right, and this is a document here, and it comes from Medcrave, MEDCRAVE, Medcrave. And the name of the article is Vaccines Devised to Delete the God Gene. And I read, it says, as events have unfolded since 2020, many people have suspected that the COVID-19 pandemic is actually an operation of the globalist deep state. This is hard to dismiss when the World Economic Forum helped to find a germ game in October 2019 called Event 201, and you can look that up. While WEF founder Klaus Schwab co-authored a book called COVID-19, The Great Reset. Some researchers are calling for an investigation into Operation COVID-19 and COVID-19 84. The conspirators involved have one thing in common. They have neither moral conscience nor the least empathy. They don't need to take the vaccine to remove the God gene from their genetics. They seem to have been born godless. They were already born without the God gene eviscerated from their genome. So it's called the FUNVAX. So whose idea of fun? Notice how FUNVAX has the meme they sent out, considering it's all good fun to surreptitiously extinguish a COVID-19 vaccine recipient's religious nature and innate yearning for spiritual truth. It is of paramount importance to unravel the intricacies of the FUNVAX delivery system. It represents the culmination of many decades of highly secretive bio-warfare research waged against humankind. However, it's the COVID-19 pandemic itself that served as the catalyst for exposing this nefarious plot. It goes on. Let me see. This is a rather long article. And what we'll do is I'll get this posted on our website so you can find it on today's show. But basically, this is saying that they know now how to shut down the part of the brain that connects you with spirituality or with the divine or whatever. I mean, can you imagine that? I mean, what else can you steal from somebody than their ability to want to connect with the divine? This is some scary stuff. Anyway, I wanted to throw that out there because this is supremely important. It really is. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. That's kind of important. Let's see. What else do we have here on the agenda here? Oh yes. There is a show, a podcast called The Jesse Kelly Show, and they were talking to a veteran. And this veteran is pissed. He is very pissed. And so you need to hear what he has to say because every word is true. Here it is.
They let my battle buddies die for oil and then gave our killers government contracts. That's the truth, ain't it? You don't gotta sugarcoat genocide to call it war. The same bastards who sent us over there with lies in their teeth turned right around and handed multi-billion-dollar contract deals to the same private mercs and warlords that were killing us. Blackwater got rich, Raytheon got richer, Halliburton raked it in while we were getting our legs blown off by bombs with parts we sold them. The road to fascism is paved with bipartisan smiles, drone strikes, and food stamps that don't stretch past the 20th. Don't tell me this is freedom. This ain't freedom. This is corporate authoritarianism with a smiley face sticker slapped on the gas pump. In 2024, 60% of Americans lived paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, Lockheed Martin posted over $67 billion in revenue. You got billionaires racing to Mars while folks on Earth are drinking lead water. You got prisons making license plates for pennies while Congress takes bribes dressed up as campaign donations. The Democrats throw rainbow flags on bombs and the GOP throws Bibles at poor folks. But both parties kneel to Wall Street with the same posture, bent over. It ain't about left or right. It's about up and down. They're up. We're crushed. Huey P. Newton said, "The revolution has always been in the hands of the young. The young always inherit the revolution." You hear that? That's not just a call. That's a warning. The kids are growing up broke, queer, medicated, and pissed off, and they know it's rigged. Meanwhile, 2025 America's got over 580,000 folks sleeping on the streets, but there's 11 million vacant homes. Do that math. That's not a crisis. That is choice. They built this cage and told us it was a cradle. Told us to wave flags before we learned to question why we were starving. If you ain't angry, you ain't paying attention. If you still believe voting blue will save us, you've been sleeping through the fire alarm. We don't need reform, we need rupture. You ever see a nation bomb weddings in Yemen, then tell you there's no money for insulin? You ever see a cop shoot a kid and get a pension? You ever bury a friend who OD'd because the rehab had a wait list, but a prison didn't? This whole thing is rot. We gotta tear it down because no savior's coming, no president's fixing it, ain't no boot gonna loosen itself. You gotta bite it, tear it, rip it, spit out the laces. And if you're scared of what comes after, good. That means you're awake. This system doesn't break. It feeds on the breaking. It chews up the wounded, calls them lazy, and sells their bones for profit. Revolution is not chaos. It's correction.
That's right. I don't agree 100% with what he said, but I'll tell you, this reflects exactly the mood that we're starting to see across this country. People are pissed, and well, they should be, because things have gotten so out of control, so out of hand, and people just don't know what to do. And I will tell you that the mentality of the globalists is one thing. They will use absolute force to push their agenda. Brute force. They have no empathy. They have no compassion. None. Zero. They want their way, or nobody's going to have it there anyway. It's sort of like the Samson option. If they can't have it their way, they will destroy the entire world. And I'll tell you, we're all starting to see it. We've been hearing over and over that you can't tell the people, you have to show them. Well, how can you show people when they close their eyes, plug their ears, and go la, 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 la? Well, things have to get really, really bad for them. And unfortunately, I think this is exactly what's going to happen. We're going to see some very difficult times ahead. Very difficult times. And I think it's inevitable. Anyway, we have a caller. So welcome to the program. Who are you and where are you calling from?
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to you. Who dat?
Fantastic. Okay, this is Melissa calling from Maryland, and I have a few questions for you if you're prepared.
Okay, go ahead.
And you can't hear me, and I'll adjust the audio.
Yeah, can you speak up a little bit? You're gonna have your volume's real low. Can you speak up, please?
Okay. Do you know when your replay is in case somebody misses? Do you know what time that you air and re-air? Do you know what your schedule is so that if it doesn't, so that it matches up for everybody's schedule? Do you happen to know that?
Well, the Red State Talk Radio Network has their own schedule, and I know that I'm on probably about 4 or 5 times during a 24-hour period. However, if you go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, just scroll down, and you can listen to the show anytime you want to.
Okay.
So, like today is the 20th, and after I finish the broadcast, I will get that over to the website, and within probably an hour or two, it will be posted. But if you missed yesterday's show, you can listen to yesterday's show as soon as you hang up the phone call if you want. So, so if you go to TheWTFReports.com, all of the archives are there, and you can listen, at your leisure. Okay.
Okay, well, I'll have to check Red State's schedule and see when it re-airs because, okay. It's good that they acknowledge that we're not all able to listen at the same time. Question number 2 is, do you happen to have an email address for the White House in case we've been making notes the past 25 years of everything that has to be addressed and we can just send it all to them?
No, I don't have it at the top of my head, but I don't think it should be too difficult to find it. Let me see.
The last time I looked on the White House website, there was not an email address.
Huh.
So I just wondered, who has it and why it's not on the website, et cetera, because it doesn't need to be corrected. That, I look at the White House website, there's no email address there. I look at the Congress website, Congress doesn't have their email addresses on their website either, so all of that stuff has to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you don't have a White House email address, okay, next question. You don't have to answer these now, just, and when you answer them, it's interested information, so you should just repeat it over and over again. But anyway, okay.
I'll tell you what. While you were just talking, I looked up the email is comments@whitehouse.gov. Comments.
Is that on the White House website?
No, I just did a search to contact the White House.
Okay.
Yeah, real simple. You can send your comments to comments@whitehouse.gov. Okay?
Okay, very good.
Okay, now, what was your question you were asking about now?
Okay, now, you have heard of Nicholas Tesla, yes?
Oh, yeah, Nicholas Tesla, yep.
Very good, Tesla. Okay. My understanding is that when he went to meet his maker and became one with his religion, that the FBI seized his files. That's my understanding.
That he what?
They just never saw his files.
Right. Well, from what I understand it, they ended up in the hands of Donald Trump's uncle, John Trump.
Could be.
Yeah,
okay.
that's what I've heard. Yeah.
Okay, now, is there a website that lists the files that the FBI has seized?
Not that I'm aware of.
I see. Okay, because that's on the list of stuff that I think that Trump ought to release, is Nicholas Tesla's files in addition to the other files that should be released.
Well, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I agree because the technologies that Nikola Tesla and others have come up with over the past century, many of those technologies have been suppressed. Patents have been suppressed, et cetera, and the reason being is because the powers that be, I mean, the big oil companies, big gas, nuclear, et cetera, I mean, if they were to release the 0-point energy, in other words, if everybody was to have free energy, it would put them all out of business and crash the world economy. Yeah. And they don't want to do that, okay? I mean, there's all kinds of...
I think energy is, if I'm not mistaken, the most used commodity in the world.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, there's a documentary out there produced by Dr. Stephen Greer. You might want to search for it. It's called The Lost Century. Look it up. The Lost Century by Dr. Stephen Greer. I believe you can watch it for free on YouTube. I'm not sure. As a matter of fact, I have a link here someplace. I got so many tabs open here. Yeah, okay. There's a website if you want to write this down. It's GENI.US. GENI.US/
Is that genius?
Yeah, sort of like GENI.US. Sort of like, yeah, so it's genius with a dot between the I and the US. GENI.US/ Dr. Stephen Greer. That's Dr. Stephen Greer. STEVENGREER films. Altogether, it's GENI.US/ Dr. Stephen Greer films. And there you can watch his films for free. There it is, The Lost Century. The other one is called Unacknowledged. The other one is called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, and the other one is called The Cosmic Hoax. But if you watch The Lost Century, you'll find out about all of these technologies that have been suppressed for over a century, and they would have changed the direction of humanity had they been released. But the powers that be don't want this technology released for obvious reasons. They would lose total control, and that's why they're there. Yeah. You know, they're motivated by greed and power. You know, and I've said for many, many years, common sense tells me that good people don't lust for money and power. So the common sense question is, who ends up with all the money and power is, for the most part, bad people, you know? So, I mean, there's 0-point energy, there's magnet power, there's... what was his name? I'm having a senior moment here. The guy that drove across country on 22 gallons of water. Oh gosh, I met the guy and saw his car there about 3 months before he was killed. I'm just having a senior. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. But there's a lot of technology that's been suppressed. I've seen magnet motors. I've seen these things. These things exist. Once that wheel starts turning, it won't stop. Anyway, so yeah, I would highly suggest that you check out that documentary film, The Lost Century. That'll explain a whole lot.
Okay, I have one more question, please. You had a guest not too long ago that was explaining the general assembly set up in the General Assembly option.
Yes.
And I didn't get contact information for that. Could you repeat that, please?
Okay. Excuse me. Let me see. I'll give you a couple of websites where you can get started bringing yourself up to speed with that. Let's see. Where would they be? La, 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 la. I got so many tabs open here. Let me see. Which one here? Oh, okay. No, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. Okay, here's one. Oh, geez, it's too long. Let's see. Okay. Oh, okay. Here's one. If you go to, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. AmericanCivicsEducation.org. AmericanCivicsEducation.org. All right. And then if you go there and click on the resources tab, you'll find a whole bunch of different videos that you can watch that'll bring you up to speed as to what the General Assembly is. And this is an effort that's going on nationwide to reassemble the petite juries or the petite juries. Now, this is something that was going on in the 1800s, but after the Act of 1871, we were just never educated about the jural assemblies. Now, the way that works is that every state has counties, and every county is supposed to have its own petite jury. Now, once these petite juries are assembled and registered with the state, they become empowered. Now, the petite juries or the petite juries, believe it or not, they have the power to immediately remove any elected or appointed official. This is why we were never taught about this, because when you find that there's corruption going on in your county, you want these people out of there. If you can prove that they are corrupt and the petite jury finds them guilty, they can have them immediately removed. My gosh, you want to talk about power to the people. That's why they don't teach us about this. And this is all cleared by the Supreme Court as well. This is all real stuff. This is legit. So again, if you want to learn more about it, go to AmericanCivicsEducation.org and then check out the resources page. Okay, does that help?
Now, is that just one more?
I cannot hear you. Get back closer to your phone.
I'm sorry, just a moment. Okay, so I've got to, okay, this goes lazy after like a minute or so, but anyway. Okay. Are you telling me that that's going to work in all 50 states? Because each of the 50 states have different state laws.
Mm-hmm. Well, each of the 50 states, they all have a state constitution. And the Constitution, yeah. And like I said, you have to check into each of your states. Yes, every state has the ability to form their petite juries according to the Supreme Court. So again, if you go there to the American Civics Education, I'm sure many of the questions that you have in the back of your head right now will be answered if you go there and start checking out the resources page, because a lot of stuff is there. I highly encourage everybody out there to bring themselves up to speed with this, because this is how we return power to the people the way it's supposed to be. Okay?
Okay, now I can do that, no problem. Thank you. I'll check it out. Keep up the good work.
Well, thank you much, dear. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. All right.
Okay, see ya.
Okay, bye-bye. All right, let's see here. We got about 7 minutes before the top of the hour, and there are a lot of people out there that are really PO'd, and I don't blame them. I'm PO'd. I've been screaming from the rooftops for 3 decades, and I'll tell you, no good deeds go unpunished. But there's a guy named Jesse Kelly. He's got his own podcast, and he's pissed, and he's basically reflecting the sentiment that I think most Americans are feeling right now. Where are the arrests? Where are they? Now, yesterday, of course, I was talking about Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, and both of them were over the weekend in an interview, and they came flat out and said, yeah, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. Now, that's kind of odd, Because before Dan Bongino became assistant director of the FBI and he was doing his radio show, for the past several years, he's been out there screaming from the rooftops, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. And now all of a sudden, he's in a news conference being interviewed, looking very sheepish, I must say. And he says, yeah, I saw it. Yeah, he killed himself. What happened to you, Bongino? How has somebody got you over a barrel on something? I don't know. But there are a lot of people that are of the same sentiment as me. We want to see some perp walks. I want to see orange jumpsuits, handcuffs, and leg irons to some of these people who have been committing high treason. High treason. When are these arrests going to start happening?
So for 4 years, the president not only had dementia, he had prostate cancer, advanced prostate cancer. He was either A, treating it, or B, chose to forego treatment and die, and people all around him knew it and pretended as if he was functional for 4 years as he ran the United States of America into the side of a mountain. So again, I want to ask, who's going to go to prison? Because it's not a small thing. It's not a made-up political scandal. It's not time to move on. It's not time to focus on something else. I want to know who's going to prison for covering up the mental and physical condition of the man pretending to be president for 4 years. Donald Trump has to work 19 hours a day, trade deals, this, that. The job of the presidency is an endless, brutal grind. And for 4 years, we didn't have one. And guess what? It didn't just magically happen. People did it. People with names. People with addresses. People with faces, social security numbers, birth dates. Human beings lied to the entire United States of America, and the United States of America suffered in unimaginable ways for 4 years, and we still suffer to this day. Again, let me ask, who's going to prison?
Well, according to the Democrats, if they had their way, nobody would go to prison. Now that it's all out there that Biden has terminal cancer, the Democrats are saying, we want you to stop all investigations into the Bidens. No, let the man die in peace. Leave him alone. He doesn't deserve this. No, leave him alone. He's going to die. You Democrats, I'll tell you, of course you don't want any investigations going on. Because it's not just Hunter Biden. It's not just Jill Biden. It's, it's Barack Obama. It's Hillary Clinton. It's all the cabal that was around them, that continues to be around the Democratic Party. And, of course, the DNC, they don't want any more investigations. Just shut it down, shut up, and just take it. Turn the page, move on. No. They destroyed the businesses. They destroyed families. They are just evil anti-Americans, and they have committed high treason. No, you don't turn the page on that. No, you don't move on. No, you don't forgive and forget. No. The Biden crime syndicate, I mean, we're all suffering the consequences now. And it's not going to stop until those situations are corrected. I mean, this is not hard to figure out, folks. This really isn't. And this is not about Republican versus Democrat, although they want you to think it is. They want you to think it's a partisan issue. It's not. We're talking about high treason. So with that said, I think the investigations need to go on. And yes, we need perp walks. All right, while we were taking that phone call, I got a little text message that Linda Banber, the creator of the Wave Watch, will be joining me on Thursday. Make note of it, because we're going to find out all kinds of stuff about the Wave Watch that you don't want to miss, because it features Rife technology, of course, is based on Tesla's frequencies. The bottom line here is you're going to want to hear this show. So on Thursday, we'll be talking to Linda Banber from the Wave Watch. And if you want to check it out, go to our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page, and you can get your own Wave Watch, and you can find out more about it. That said, we're flat out of time for this Tuesday broadcast. I'm Dave vonKleist. These are the WTF reports, and I'll be back again tomorrow. So until then, God bless you all. Stay safe, stay free, and God bless you all. Pray hard, folks.